My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California.
All right, it is Monday, September 2nd, 2024, and it's 6:52 a.m., and you will see the fake sun in perfect alignment with the Motel 6 window and the reflection of the light source that is at 6:52 a.m. high enough to reach over the building of the Holiday Inn and low enough to reflect off of the window of the Motel 6 is creating light activity that's reaching into the depths of the Holiday Inn on the first floor. So that's some arcade ricocheting light activity. The entity is engaging in surveillance by stalking, sitting on the bench. You'll see this demon sitting there, maintaining presence. That's group stalking, classic P.O.C, group stalking, with that very demonic, highly impossible, in other words, light activity, the evidence of what is a sunrise and a sunset, and then the demonic light activity where the sunlight is ricocheting off of buildings into the depths of buildings. That's the same light activity that you'll see on the first floor inside of the Holiday Inn. It's reaching into the depths onto the hallway wall that I captured upon my arrival, and it was after 5:32 p.m. It's the exact same light activity reaching into the same depths at 6:52 in the morning. So the demon that you see stalking by sitting on the bench gets into the vehicle, which is audible activity creation. That license plate is 19638S3. This is indeed P.O.C. License CV30C74 paper 4BSR612. License 9XA7ZB, Arizona. These are the people of the state that are group stalking, and this is the same entity that we're engaging in heavy federal stalking, criminal conduct. This is criminal obstruction of justice basis for federal prison. This is the entity that's engaged in the ongoing conspiracy to murder and kidnap someone, and then it was documented, and now the entity that engages in an ongoing deliberate, continuous, and desperate effort to try to stop you from putting it on the internet. DK15N94 paper 7TEZ899. I'm going to take a picture of the fake sun that is low enough to be in alignment with the building of the Holiday Inn, but yet it's high enough to reach over the top of the Holiday Inn and then at a downward trajectory to ricochet off of the window of the Hotel 6 across the parking lot, and then it's ricocheting into the first floor doorway such that you can see my shadow, and it's touching the wall in the depths of the hallway. This is very, very clear P.O.C, and this is evidence that's also, it's as telling as the entity stalking in helicopter, the light activity. It's as telling as a fake sun being at one address for 12 hours. This is the very clearly demonic conduct, the evidence of demon possession, the evidence of group stalking, the asininity with regard to the light activity. I'm going to capture that right now. It's 6:55 a.m. Alrighty, capturing substantial video where you'll see the P.O.C. license 98A5VX. That's the African American male that was already documented group stalking amongst the impossible light activity inside of the lobby here. When you're looking at impossible light activity, that's also through the back of the parking lot where it's ricocheting off of the Motel 6 and into the hallways of the hotel. 7YOU461. He's going to federal prison. The African American male. That license plate. Systematic facilitation. Federal prison. 9JLX278. Federal prison for group stalking with minor children as well. All right, which you're seeing on the video, and you're seeing, as I'm documenting, the Kia Forte with no license plate, still here group stalking, and all of the entities engaging in surveillance. So let me be clear, every license plate that's present, remember the parking lot was full yesterday morning, the entity is engaging in surveillance knowing that I'm documenting them. So every license plate that is present, this is a conscious decision that they make with regard to being exposed and being documented. So be mindful of that as well. License 8GQF255. 4XOA554, and the Winco truck license YAKC239 in perfect alignment with my hotel room. All right, there were 3 Winco trucks around the parking lot. It was U.S. Foods. It was Penske when I first arrived here. But remember, large trucks are present for purposes of light activity. The demons sit in those trucks and engage in surveillance. The entity also amplifies the sounds of the trucks. They are doing so with regard to 24-hour surveillance at any moment in the hour, especially when I'm up in the middle of the night as well. But it doesn't have to be a truck, but the large trucks are very effective for that, for light activity. The entity does so with regard to particularly also when I'm publishing evidence on the internet, and when they're trying to interfere with internet access, with internet operation of my cell phone. Remember, a truck just represents a means of light activity, relevant positioning. It's specifically like large trucks. Okay, the flashing of lights, stalking in the parking lot, surrounding in relevant position. That's what they're doing at the Motel 6 parking lot as well, the parking of those large trucks. 215 SMX, and that is Arkansas. So this is an entity that's essentially facilitation. And criminal facilitation is a very serious federal offense for, also as the entity uses it to obstruct justice. And it is currently 7:08 a.m. The entity engaging in surveillance, the African-American male, he's going to federal prison. And openly engaging in gang stalking. I'm glad he did that on camera, because that is literally the criminal act that they're pacing in all day long while a fake sun remains over this hotel. And while they're engaging in that walking, that's not going to create any earthquakes inside of the hotel room. That's not going to create any sort of sensational activity while you're pushing a housekeeping cart. That's conduct that's occurring while the fake sun remains over the hotel for 12 hours, and you are experiencing isolated earthquakes while you're on the bed, and then doing more so as they are witnessing you're publishing that onto the internet. These are hostile demons who are mentally ill, very deranged and disturbing conduct, and they increase that threatening conduct, which is terrorism by an entity, not ordinary harassment or anything. This is terrorism by the state that the people of the state are going to be prosecuted for, and the state of California is going to be prosecuted for. 6 UOK 289, 8S 17276, 78LR 739, 7 MPS 663. Hold on, that is 7MPS 663, 9JGJ159, 9NLX 860, and 59687Z1, 5HLY 722, 635 M27 Nevada. This is the entity where I'm in the back parking lot and you're hearing amplified sound of traffic. The entity is doing the same thing inside of the hotel room. It's impossible audible activity. It's as impossible as the sun being present for 12 hours. Those are the people of the state openly showing their demon possession in the same way that they do, the population does, with impossible light activity. 9JGJ159, and that population is going to be prosecuted for terrorism and state surveillance. And it's also going to be prosecution of every business that's group stalking while that audible activity is occurring. Let me be clear, Baker's doesn't have any freedom or protection to be present in relevant position. It becomes surveillance because you're aware of the environment. Baker's is making money while they're group stalking. That's the prosecution of Baker's. It's prosecution of 7-Eleven. It's the prosecution of the entire shopping center where you see Target. You saw a mass sex offense and terrorism underway at Target, which they're engaging in surveillance by virtue of capturing the fake sun and the engineered light and the molestation by a pack of demons who were group stalking right in front of Target. Where at no point ever has the sun ever been over that Target since I've been over there. Nor would it ever possibly be there, because the entity is rising and setting a sun in Los Angeles over the Alvarado Gardens apartment complex, in the same way that it's now doing so in Hesperia, where I have never been. Okay, license 7 MPS 663. The entity provides evidence against himself. In other words, the ongoing pattern of conduct, which is entirely demonic. The demons tell on themselves. They tell on each other. And they're prosecuting each other. You're talking about federal prison for the people of the state who engaged in heavy-duty obstruction of justice. They engage in conspiring to murder and kidnap you. They're highly intelligent in their tactics that they employ. You publish it on the venue of the internet and they try to stop you from doing it. So in the same way that you try to obstruct any sort of justice when you're trying to murder or kidnap someone in violation of the law, it's particularly when you're also doing it in violation of federal law or against some federal investigation, a federal court, a federal officer, you're going to federal prison for that. And it's under the name Holiday Inn Express. All the employees are going to federal prison, and I've named many of them. Okay, they're going to federal prison. License 9JGJ159, and that's exactly what I stated when they were doing it. And I'm continuously uploading the evidence onto the venue of the internet. YouTube in particular is the particular venue right now, but not the only venue that's going to be utilized. This is evidence against the state of California and the entities engaged in an ongoing criminal purpose to obstruct justice and stop that while they continue. It's not as though, also be mindful, it's not like they're stopping the criminal conduct and trying to also at the same time stop you from publishing the evidence. No, the entity is still conspiring to murder, actively engaging in that conspiracy to murder and kidnap you, a sex offense, and also at the same time trying to stop you from publishing it on the internet. The level of criminality and hypocrisy is absurd. The audacity of people who call themselves American, no, they're going to be deported. They're going to federal prison. They're losing custody of their children. They are a threat to themselves, to children, and to other American citizens. Even those that are engaging in the un-American and highly mentally deranged pattern of conduct of federal group stalking and monitoring at 7:12 a.m. And now the fake sun is low enough to be in alignment with the entrance doors, which I've already showed you. So you're mindful of that light activity that you saw while I'm outside of the back portion of the Holiday Inn, and that light activity is bouncing off of the Motel 6. Yeah, while demons are driving on what would be KeyPointe, impossible light activities underneath the structure. 9ADD449 is a demon who's group stalking, and so are the employees of the Motel 6, which is why they're going to federal prison. Traffic is a means of light activity in the same way that you heard when I'm in the back parking lot. Traffic is a means of amplified audible activity. Traffic is a means of light activity while they drive underneath a sunken fake sun that stays at the address all day long. This is how a population is gang stalking. 43852N2. 8TVG691, 8JZB412, 8BQH871, 8THX422, 5USD663, 5XHP612. Many of these license plates documented already. They're going to federal prison. CSW4154, that's Arizona, 0522184. 8GMN064, 9CVJ074, 9MPG015. And remember, it's not just this documentation on podcast and video that's going to be relied upon. The entities engage in ongoing desperate and pathetic acts, delusional, thinking that they're going to avoid something when they engage in their acts, removing their license plate, moving their car when they know I'm getting up to document, trying to change your business, whatever it is that you're going to federal prison for it. You're not going to avoid this federal prosecution. 8ZTM689, but nonetheless, I've shown you who are the mentally ill, demon-possessed, and the criminal conduct that the state of California is routinely engaged in. It's pointing fingers directly at the state, which is highly corrupt. Highly corrupt. They're treacherous cockroaches, desperate to get away with whatever they think they can get away with. 4BFE519. That's pointing right at, showing you exactly the character of the state that fills sheriff's departments, they fill police departments, they fill hospitals. Okay, medical facilities, calling themselves doctors and nurses, the demon possessed. This is the people of the state. Okay, 2TSA542 and Winco license plate is YAJD658. In the African American male policing a vehicle. I've already documented that license plate, and not only that, he's going to federal prison, period. So they can police all they want. He's going to federal prison, and he's going for what is the communication of a threat as well, while a demon-possessed psychopath, group stalking, in the same way the Caucasian female who comes out group stalking with the Arizona plates with minor children in the specific environment. The specific environment is a threat to your life, a threat to your well-being, a threat to your safety. It's communicating a threat. The entity is group stalking you and engaging in amplification. That's a communication of a threat. Demons employing demonic methods to monitor you. Also, like a dog that's got rabies, foaming at the mouth, barking. This is what demons do when they're showing hostility, amplified audible activity under a fake sun. This is all manner of impossible conduct that's speaking to the demonic, and it's a threat to your life. And she's going to federal prison for group stalking with kids. It's currently, by the way, 7:15 a.m. The entity is group stalking inside of the cafeteria, where the fake sun's now in alignment with the front, and it's so low you can see through the window, but it's also so high that it's above the building of the Holiday Inn, and the light is at a perfect trajectory to hit off of the window that's above, if not the same height, higher than the Holiday Inn building, and then it's also ricocheting backwards into the first floor hallway of this Holiday Inn. Okay, those are the demons that are group stalking inside a Holiday Inn, and they're going to federal prison for it. Impossible light activity already documented inside of the Holiday Inn? Hi, Jennifer, right?
Yeah.
I have a question. Hi. I don't think I've met you before. What's your name?
Seth.
I'm sorry?
Seth.
Seth? Oh, hi, Seth. I have a question. What time does the checkout? What time is checkout for? Checkout's at 11? Okay, so I already currently have a reservation. And I think it's set for Saturday morning, correct?
You're in 308, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So if I wanted to change that, is that something that I could do, like, do I need to come down and let you guys know, like, if I check out early, or can I just...
Yes. You would just, like, if you were to check out today, you would just let me know so I can walk out so they know to, like, they have to clean another room. Because right now you're set to not be touched until later.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys would, even if, yeah, that makes sense, because you wouldn't know that I checked out early because you're not going to go in my room. Okay, thank you. That's why I needed to know. Jennifer, thank you.
You're welcome. Are you trying to check out early?
I'll let you know if I am. Okay. Thank you. All right, that's, Jennifer is monitoring, and so is Seth. They're both going to federal prison. License 8THX422 is crossing path as I walk into the entrance. You'll see that on surveillance cameras at 7:15 a.m. It's 7:17 a.m. And they're also in the parking lot group stalking. That's maintaining presence like a demon sitting on the bench. While that impossible light activity is appearing on the first floor into the depths of the hallway, that's like surveillance, like sitting at the edge of the parking lot, maintaining presence in the path, while the fake sun moves in alignment to me, hovering beside a building and not in any position where it's going to bounce off of a window of an adjacent building, where it's both, I guess, low enough to be beside the building and also high enough to be over a building, such that light activity is ricocheting off of the neighboring building. Nonetheless, Jennifer is group stalking, and she's already documented. I believe Jennifer is the one that Jose named with regard to the manager. The manager's group stalking, and she's already documented, and she's going to federal prison. And while I'm in a conversation with her, which is audible activity and relevant positioning and light activity, the entity is keeping the fake sun in alignment with the entrance doors so low that you can see the light source, which I've already captured. It's 7:18 a.m. And also the impossible light activity. There's flashing light, which is Jennifer threatening my life and safety while she is monitoring me. That's the specific environment's purpose. Everything is accomplishing the elements of monitoring at the same time in concert with the demons who surround. Jennifer also represents criminal facilitation to an intolerable degree, which is also why she's going to federal prison. Jennifer is a mentally ill psychopath, and that's what you need to know. She's calling herself a manager right now. Jennifer's going to federal prison. Okay, and she's working in impossible light activity under a fake sun on behalf of the government, who does not have any probable cause or legal grounds whatsoever to engage in criminal surveillance of an American citizen and then try to obstruct justice and stop you from uploading that information onto the internet, which the federal government is going to rely on. The federal government's also going to be apprised of and is apprised of the ongoing criminal purpose to obstruct that. Okay, and that's also why she's going to federal prison. She's engaged in criminal facilitation. It's currently 7:19 a.m. This is P.O.C. All right, crossing path, which you'll see under the fake sun that's in alignment with me at the Holiday Inn, and you'll see who is in relevant position, and her name is Jennifer. This appears to be a Latina female with salt and pepper, long hair, and while the people of the state are driving on KeyPointe, and the fake sun is in perfect alignment with my person on the first floor inside of the Holiday Inn in Hesperia, California at 9750 KeyPointe Avenue at 7:24, 7:25. It's currently 7:26. Flashing of light is occurring while this is pointing out the entire operation. Those are demons that are driving on the street. This is the demon that I'm speaking to, and these are all demons that are group stalking together on behalf of the government, while also the fake sun, which is speaking to the entirety of that environment and the entirety of a population in that environment. That's why it's here in Hesperia. While driving on KeyPointe, flashing of light is occurring at the same time when I'm talking to Jennifer about the IHG rewards program. That rewards program conversation is nothing but audible activity. Jennifer is indeed going to federal prison. This is a sex offender that's currently working in the hospitality industry, keeping American citizens like myself under surveillance. She's group stalking with all the demons who are currently staying here. These are all of the same condition, and she's doing so with minor children. This is what the state is engaging in. This sort of treachery, this sort of life-threatening conduct, threatening your safety, and then appearing, again, mentally ill psychopaths wanting to present themselves publicly as though they are normal, as though what they're doing is, again, lawful, and that's lawful in the eyes of a corrupt government, by the way, who is not exposing the fact that it's engaged in state surveillance. That's exactly what Jennifer is engaged in, and I'm capturing the fake sun as I walk right out of the entrance, and you will see vehicles driving in opposite directions. Those are demons who are pacing, and while they do that conduct, which is supposed to be ordinary, but you know it's not, I've documented the demons in traffic, so you already know what's going on when they're driving up and down and when they're driving onto the grounds. when they're driving all around. And then you're understanding now that which you already have in your mindset, understanding it's coexisting with the light activity, the placement of the fake sun, and the conversation with Jennifer. Jennifer's going to federal prison. Okay, she's group stalking with the population, and for that level of facilitation, she and every other employee is going to federal prison. Impossible Light fills the venue. It's P.O.C. You know what time it is, Jennifer?
It is 7:30.
All right, thank you. Have a good one. P.O.C. And what you will also see is the impossible light activity reaches the depths of the same hallway where I'm walking downstairs and I'm capturing the fake sun on the where you see the demon group stalking on the bench. And you see my shadow appearing in the depths of this hallway. The same hallway wall is where from the entrance door, impossible light is reaching in the opposite directions, from the front and from the back. Okay, from the back, it's by ricocheting off of the Motel 6 window into the depths of the hallway and the back of the building. From the front, it's ricocheting, not ricocheting, it's reflecting. It's so low, it's into the entrance area, reaching into the depths of the hallway for the criminal purposes of the people of the state. As demonic as people driving in traffic and light activity flashing on the wall are the demons who are walking all around in that light activity that fills the building while that fake sun remains present 12 hours from now, 11 hours from now. That's the P.O.C. It is currently 7:29 a.m. It is currently 11:29 a.m. and this is providing podcast audio documentation, and this is going to accompany and provide further context regarding what you're going to see in the screenshots. This is the timestamps, if you will, for the prosecution of the state. I'm prosecuting the state. I am prosecuting demons, corrupt and dangerous leaders who are engaged in public corruption. They are Satan's strategically placed corrupt actors who are engaging in terrorism, and they masquerade as things such as fire departments. These are demons who are stalking in fire trucks. These are demons that are literally engaged in surveillance in at a fire department, as opposed to being engaged in what is the appropriate and lawful and even noble and heroic conduct as that fire departments are generally and appropriately associated with, but not so with the entity that's engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. These are demons. And the demons are filling the fire departments. The demons are filling police departments. In HESPERIA, the demons are filling the fire departments and the sheriff's departments because, again, San Bernardino County, Victorville, Apple Valley, HESPERIA, they have contracted with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, who is engaging in the quote-unquote policing. This is a terrorist organization that's engaged in state surveillance, masquerading as a law enforcement agency. And so you have seen the egregious criminal conduct that the Los Angeles Police Department is surrounded with, and it's published on the internet. And this entity is to date engaging in ongoing criminal conduct, which they're going to federal prison for, trying to obstruct justice and cease the process of publishing that evidence, which is going on the internet. So the ordinary target individual is going to be protected from the very psychotic and delusional endeavor to think and then to act as though you will stop the federal government from prosecuting you for conspiring to murder and kidnap an American citizen. That's exactly what the government is doing when the people and the entity itself are engaging in the elements of monitoring in the specific environment, also with the criminal purpose to intimidate, retaliate, harass, terrorize, because they are hostile to your exposing them as demons and exposing their criminal system. This is relevant to, again, the elements of monitoring is speaking to not only the state surveillance, but also the federal stalking. Federal stalking is with regard to engaging in surveillance on the venue of the internet, and federal group stalking and monitoring by the state. The people are in the shoes of the state. So this is removing the mask where this criminal system, which is satanic, is supposed to appear as free society in the United States. Where there are laws protecting your privacy and protecting your liberties and whatnot, and the things that are constitutional restraints against the government, such as the Fourth Amendment, the First Amendment. These are the laws that the government that is engaging in criminal surveillance, they are literally abusing them and masquerading as though they have authority under them when they are in outright disregard and out of conformity with those laws. This is public corruption. The government is engaging in criminal surveillance and then is abusing their positions in the shoes of the state and the state itself, the state proper, that is the courts, the police, the sheriffs, and also the political figures. They are fully engaged in the pattern of conduct. They are holding positions, facilitating the statewide system. These are, again, spiritually speaking, these are demons. These are the demon possessed, and they are engaging in what is facilitation by virtue of maintaining the ability for this system to continue to exist. You do not have a mayor over a city that is ignorant about a pattern of conduct amongst a population. So when you have all of the people and the pattern of conduct is already established, you do not have an exception with regard to the mayor who is different and distinct from what the population is and from what the population is doing. This is a demon in the same status that is in a position of leadership, that is therefore enabling. You are not engaging in conduct that is in any way distinct from or different than what everyone else is engaging in, including the police, including the sheriffs, including the fire departments, the demons that are at the heads of these departments, which again, the mayor is directly linked to. The mayor is in the position to place these demons in such leadership positions. This is understanding this public corruption, where the roots are, and the demons that are going to be plucked out of those positions. So while Daniel R. Muncie. This is a demon-possessed person. He is over the San Bernardino County Fire Department. And so this is an entity that's engaging in group stalking. The San Bernardino County Fire Department is sounding sirens while a fake sun is literally over my window. And this is what I mean by idiots stalking under a fake sun. It does not matter how high in your mind you think a person is based on their credentials, okay? And I will give myself as an example. And this is speaking to, again, how this wicked world is flipped upside down. Okay, this is how you have what is a licensed attorney, that is myself, that was homeless. Now, how do you reconcile those facts? Because it's not based on contrary to what the government that is engaging in criminal surveillance and federal stalking and trying to obstruct justice and is desperately seeking to, which is the purpose of group stalking, wanting to criminally defame that one whom they're targeting, criminal defamation, would like to provide the, and this is what you would see on the news. This is the ordinary fact pattern where you will see an accomplished individual that all of a sudden committed suicide. Okay. But I am someone who is a licensed attorney, and I've been homeless, and it's not because clearly the pattern of conduct, the evidence, the body of evidence, and my ability to articulate what this entity is doing is directly contradicting a false narrative, which is criminally defamatory, for which I will prosecute this same entity for seeking to, gaslight. That's what the current term is. This is gaslighting by that entity that's monitoring you, and then wanting to depict you. Oh, the reason why they're accusing strangers of stalking them, and this whole notion of group stalking, which is literally singularly maintained by one who is suffering from some mental incapacity, such as paranoid schizophrenia. This is criminal defamation. It's built into the pattern of conduct. The same government that is engaging in highly psychotic methods of surveilling you and group stalking you. It's a government system. And so Daniel R. Muncie, the mayor of Hesperia, and I'm going for, again, it's not just the mayor, it's everyone under the mayor. This is a demon-possessed population. When I'm referencing the mayor, when I'm referencing the demon that's at the head of the San Bernardino County Fire Department, the demon that is over the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, this is again referenced as a terrorist organization that is masquerading, where Satan is in real time currently already in operation of a satanic surveillance system, where you are thinking that this is something that is to come in the future. If you're familiar with scripture, the Bible, and talking about what's to come, this is already in operation right now. And so you are anticipating something to come in the future. You're looking for the signs about what's going to come, about what's going to happen. And it's already happening. Okay. The government is already underway, and it is satanic. And then you have what is in America, the way that it's happening in America. America is masquerading as though we are a free society. And amongst this free society, you have what is the absolute opposite of that. And group stalking is the direct evidence of it. And it's a government system. It's not a demonic cult from some weird shack where demon-possessed people are gathering every Wednesday and they just hate you because everything about you just is of light. It's not some random cult. It is the operation of, it's cultish. It's of the occult. It's demonic. It is of Satan, but it's not the people. You're focusing on the people. And that's what the government also wants you to do. It's the government itself hiding amongst the people. And you are recognizing that because of the specific environment that follows everywhere that I'm going. And in the specific environment, including the fake sun, the engineered light, the entity is stalking in that spectacular environment. It always stands out the entity is stalking in helicopters. It always stands out where I'm showing the sunrise and sunset at the address, the same address, for example. The entity is stalking through the means of criminal summoning. They're always speaking to the fact that, yes, we're stalking you because you're always hearing the sirens. The entity is engaging in the elements of monitoring, in other words. The entity engages in what is terrorism and psychological torture by stalking in helicopters, by group stalking using fire, ambulance, and police. Sheriff's departments also utilize vehicles. For example, Hesperia, California, group stalking outside of my window under the fake sun, which I reminded you about while I'm capturing the sunrise. I'm standing in the same parking lot where I am in this building where I'm in right now. In the middle of the afternoon, the fake sun is still over this building while you're looking at demons driving San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department vehicles, sounding sirens. In that specific environment, the government is group stalking. That's the state acting directly. The people of the state are group stalking as well. That's called the government group stalking vicariously. You will see the pattern of conduct underway because they are all the same. Direct and vicarious criminal activity is all happening under a fake sun that remains over me, rising and setting over me. And it is highlighted, underscored, emboldened when I stay at one address all day long just to illustrate to the world what is not the natural environment that surrounds me, and it's not the natural environment that surrounds you. None of this is natural behavior either. So then you are understanding and witnessing the mental illness. Demons, corrupt government actors such as Daniel R. Muncie, whose dangerous leadership over a fire department where state surveillance is underway. Let me be clear. These are demons who are engaging in criminal conduct. They are the same ones that abuse the Welfare and Institutions Code. Upon criminal summoning, will kidnap you and claim that you are 5150 and will do so in the position as fire departments. They engage in this with the demons who are driving ambulances, driving you to state facilitating venues, calling themselves hospitals, where the fake sun will remain over that hospital. The demons that call themselves medical practitioners, psychiatrists, for example, who are supposedly diagnosing you, are doing so while they're group stalking you. They're demons. Engaging in criminal defamation, creating, manufacturing the paperwork to support what they do in the corrupt court in order to have you, quote unquote, committed or have you diagnosed when this is the state system. Satan is targeting those who do not fit in to his demonic camp. Those who Satan already has, those are the ones who are group stalking. Those are the ones who are targeting. The entity is engaging in this through literally the government actors. The mayor is not distinct from the same exact population who is group stalking. The mayor is under the same fake sun. The mayor is engaged in what is facilitation, placing demons in position over the fire departments as fire warden, fire chief, as chief of police, as of county sheriff. The entity engages in who is electing and who is creating, quote unquote, holding them accountable. The demons who are calling themselves they're sitting on the boards, and they are the people who are in a position of holding these police departments, the sheriff's department accountable, and they're included in what's going on in the community. It's the people of the state, the demons who are molesting with engineered light, who are group stalking, wearing housekeeping uniforms, stalking in a hotel room while a fake sun remains over that hotel all day long, where an entity is flying circles, for example, as I've shown the pattern of conduct in helicopters, group stalking while driving law enforcement vehicles. Okay, it's the same people of the state who are acting with the government. And I'm referencing all the ways in which you will see the people of the state included in what these demon-infected police departments, these demon-infected sheriff's departments are doing. It's one entity. The demons are calling themselves mayors as well. They're calling themselves whatever government position is present in California. I will put it in those terms. It includes up to and including the governor, who places these judges in the positions in these corrupt courthouses that I have already documented. Okay, this is an entity. This is a statewide pattern of conduct. And so I'm going through all of that, big picture, macro level, getting down to where I'm at, because I'm one person showing you the pattern of conduct, showing you what is a seamless, consistent, ceaseless, cyclical pattern of conduct. There is no exception. Even the stalking in helicopter has already been captured in San Bernardino County. Okay, everyone is looking at what the Los Angeles Police Department did, and it was the most foolish thing that you could ever do, because it's evidence against San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. They don't have to engage in what would be very foolish stalking in helicopter, and it's clearly stalking in helicopter because there's a fake sun. You're not doing anything but group stalking under a fake sun. It's only the delusional, demon-possessed group stalkers who fill the Los Angeles Police Department, who engaged in stalking in plain view in thousands of videos, day and night, over my apartment, over my leasing office, where an entity was rising and setting a sun which is the ability for the world to recognize public corruption, prosecution for government actors who call themselves chief of police, such as Dominic Choi, who engaged in criminal acts of obstruction of justice, trying to threaten employment while they, the employer, and those that are group stalking with the state, sought to obstruct justice, which was the state infringing on freedom of speech, because you will document and using the laws as I understand them in their alternate universe, where there will be, but there is not yet, a body of laws with regard to what the states are doing in the U.S., which is criminally monitoring American citizens. The entity abuses laws, and so in their alternate universe, where they have yet to be prosecuted for state surveillance and federal stalking, I am literally enforcing my right to freedom of speech, and no employer has any right to infringe upon my freedom of speech, whatever I'm documenting while I'm at work or not at work. And that's, again, speaker companies, they're all going to federal prison. That's just the malice of the entity. But with that evidence, I'm only speaking to say that demons of the LAPD, they showed you what the entire state of California is engaging in. They showed it to you in thousands of videos. There is no place anywhere in the country that the sun is going to be while it's rising and setting over me in Alvarado Gardens. And even before I relocated to Los Angeles, where you saw heavy duty stalking is all that's happening under a fake sun. And it's the same thing while the entity is repeatedly sounding sirens, which is the prosecution, the removal of demons such as Daniel R. Muncie, whose demons are stalking under a fake sun that's over the Hesperia Holiday Inn Express and Suites at 9750 Key Point in Hesperia, California, which is never shared with any apartment complex, let alone Alvarado Gardens, which is remarkably directly over the top of my head all day long. And you see that while I'm documenting moment by moment this demon that's group stalking in the room right next to me, 306, a hostile demon that can't control themselves, and then they're caught on camera so that the world can witness. There is no racial lines, there's no linguistics that are any exception to demon possession, there's no age limitation. All right, there is no exception, in other words, with regard to what is spiritually going on with a person, and it is demon possession, it is spiritual wickedness, it is the root regarding the criminal activity that's happening in the natural that the government has no basis to engage in through any demon-possessed third party in this hotel. And that's what the housekeeper represents. And if the entity is doing so, repeatedly sounding sirens, the more that the demons engage in federal stalking, the more that they sound sirens. And you know that these are all the connected facts. And this is the mental illness of demons that are affiliated with the San Bernardino County Fire Department, the demons such as American Medical Response, very heavily documented terrorists. But those aren't the only ambulances that are group stalking in Hesperia and in San Bernardino County. Just giving you an example, AMR, very, very heavily documented kidnappers and terrorists, and they will be treated as such under federal law. The evidence against them is sitting on the record, including what you saw Falk Ambulance engaging in crossing path, engaging in surveillance outside of the hotel under the fake sun, engaging in crossing path with regard to engineer light dragging behind a vehicle, an impossible occurrence, showing you what's driving that ambulance, a demon who is stalking under a fake sun. That's what you saw in Monrovia. You've seen American Medical Response engage in the same phenomenon in an entirely different region where the sun would never be present. And also sunlight is never the product of driving your vehicle, and it's dragging on the asphalt beside the vehicle. It's demonic. State surveillance. That's the likes of those that are providing ongoing evidence against this demon who's group stalking, whose images you will see in screenshot, and her criminal conduct with the state is captured as I'm writing out the pattern of conduct while criminal summoning is underway. She's going to federal prison for engaging in criminal summoning. She's going to federal prison for engaging in systematic facilitation, working at the crime scene. This is how a government is able to keep you under surveillance, which is an ongoing conspiracy to murder and kidnap you, so that they can falsely depict an accomplished licensed attorney as mentally insane. And that's why I'm referencing myself, that's why she was homeless on the street, because that is antithetical. How do you reconcile those facts? Oh, because the entity that's group stalking me now that I'm prosecuting is the same one that was targeting me in the workplace. The demon possessed who are sworn to practice law in the state of California are fully engaged in the pattern of conduct, and they are filled with the spirit of Satan, engaging in this in the workplace. And then, as I reported to the people of the state of the Human Resources Department, I was unlawfully released from my job. Okay, these are lawsuits that are waiting to occur, but these are not ordinary lawsuits. This is upon federal group stalking and monitoring. That's a criminal prosecution. All right, so the entity is engaging in this, and this is while I am reconciling these facts that are, in other words, irreconcilable. How does a state that engages in criminal defamation reconcile that to the world? How do the people of the state report it to you on the news? they tell you that they were suffering from mental illness, depression, paranoid schizophrenia. All the people of the state who are their friends and family will testify to the same. That's the same entity that's group stalking you, whether you know them by name or not. It is a government-wide system serving to gaslight that targeted individual while they are engaging in group stalking you. Group stalking is demonic activity. It is the work of Satan to destroy your reputation, to take your life if you don't take your own life first, and or to kidnap you. That is, defame you by creating a criminal record, manufacturing it, because the target individual is no criminal. All right. And there are relevant facts giving context regarding anything that corrupt entity is alleging. By the way, upon establishing the pattern of conduct of federal group stalking and monitoring, that entity no longer has any legitimacy whatsoever, and it no longer is what the government presupposes is always the case. And again, absent public corruption, that should be the case. The government is in a position, and it's been entrusted with the ability to exercise authority over the people. But the people takes on a different term. The people of the state are terrorists. The people of the state are engaging in state surveillance with the state vicariously. These are legal terms that I'm referencing now, where the entity is engaged in criminal surveillance. And so the entity is engaging in this criminal system and is doing so with real-time knowledge of the fact that it's being documented while I'm staying in a hotel room. And it is literally a scientific phenomenon, meaning it is impossible that the sun would be over the same, that I'm even looking at it outside of the window when I was in the parking lot looking at the sunrise during the 6 a.m. hour. 5 hours later, it's still there. And it's not just there, it's still in perfect alignment with my person while I'm standing at the opposite end of the building. The hallway window, where you're looking at sunlight, it's impossible that the sunlight is appearing on the inside of the building at that angle that it is, at that hour that light source is still there. And when you're juxtaposing it to its placement, what was rising and setting literally over the apartment complex of Alvarado Gardens. And even before relocating, the entity was rising and setting a sun while I would wake up at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, wake up inside of a vehicle parked outside of 630 North Fern Avenue in Ontario, California, wake up inside of apartment number 51 at Woodside Senior Apartments, where the entity was engaging in this criminal system, stalking in helicopters, heavily documented. 2018 to 2022. What the Los Angeles Police Department engaged in was the corroborating evidence serving to prosecute the entire state of California. The entire state of California. As I'm showing you what is the unmistakable identification of demon possession, the unmistakable identification of the reality of Satan, those who call themselves, I worship the trees and the sun. Okay. I don't hate to break this to you. You need to know the truth. And it's not a matter of whether you want to or not. These are choices that you're making with your own soul, because you do have one. And it's going to spend somewhere forever in eternity. And the sun is not even the actual real sun. You're worshiping Satan. That's a light source that you're looking up and praying to. And that's built into this recognizing the crime scene regarding the pattern of conduct. So those who call themselves, for example, worshiping nature, you're worshiping the sun. It's not funny. It is so serious. That's why I am making sure that you understand the seriousness in my voice. And you might hear a little chuckle, but it is not because it is entertaining or because it is humorous. It is so serious that you need to understand what it is that you're worshiping. Those that engage in that sort of polytheistic, abstract sort of religion, whether you want to affirm it as a religion or not, you are practicing a religion. Even if you claim to be an atheist, you're worshiping yourself. You're worshiping what it is that you have affirmed that you will believe. So we are all worshiping someone, something, but there's only one true God. And then the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, that is the name of the one and only true God. And the light source that was remaining over me is the evidence of the reality of Satan. Your enemy, the enemy of your soul, who wants you to believe that he's not real, who wants you to think that demon possession is just some exaggerated reality upon religious zealots, religious extremists, and those who are more high thinking, more intellectual, more highly evolved even. Those are the people who are more reasonable, if you will. These are all very persuasive and distracting and very dangerous alternative routes to the pit of hell to mislead you. Satan is very real, And literally the evidence of this criminal conduct that the state of California is engaging in is the evidence of it. It's also the evidence of demon possession, because only the demon possessed, it is very exclusive, only the demon possessed, not one that knows Christ and perhaps they haven't read their Bible in a while and they're just, they're just dabbling in a little bit of sin right now. And, it's not that bad. They're not possessed by Satan or anything. They're just in sin. That person, no. It is as exclusive as I am letting you know. And this is also giving you the implications are what? The implications are that demon possession is very popular. And demon possession is not something that is based on that demon possessed person even being aware of it. Oh, but they know what they're doing. This demon knows that she's hitting the doors, that she is nonetheless stalking in the path while inexplicable noise is occurring on my door. And what I'm referencing right now is the video that I captured. When I'm referencing hitting my door, I captured video. I step outside of my room so that you can see another face of a demon. This is a demon-possessed person who's engaging in criminal activity, highly malicious on the part of the state of California. And you are also aware of all of these facts because of the specific environment that surrounds this person in my path, amongst what is audible activity, creating activity, light activity, and automatically because of the environment that surrounds, and all of that environment is a scientific impossibility. In other words, it's impossible that this is the natural environment. That is the work of Satan, the demonic imitation of the natural environment. This is also relevant to the greater context, what the state is doing, group stalking through this third party, a demon-possessed person who is group stalking with demons who fill fire departments, police departments, sheriff's departments, who have access to things such as helicopters, okay? So the entity is engaging in group stalking and federal stalking while I'm in my hotel room and in the specific environment where everything is serving that criminal system in the same way that you are looking at a fake sun that's rising and setting in alignment to me. It is very personal. It is that exclusive, because when I'm in San Diego, California, over my hotel room, where the entity is flying in circles in helicopters and flying repeatedly second by second in airplanes, in conformity to a long documented pattern of conduct, which the environment is irreconcilable as a matter of scientific fact, you are understanding what is the greater context behind what the demons of the San Bernardino County Fire Department, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department are engaging in. The use of sirens, that's a direct indication to the state. The people of the state are not typically driving around sounding sirens. That's the state. It's the identification of the state. Who begins sounding sirens as I began documenting a demon who was group stalking, readily identifiable the condition and the criminal conduct that's underway by virtue of the specific environment, the unnatural environment, if you will, which again, getting back to my point, very specific evidence, which is pointing to a greater point, which is to inform your life and what you do, what you choose to do with your soul. The demonic environment is the evidence of the reality of Satan, those who disregard it or those who deny it, those who want to deceive you and tell you that Satan's not real. That is a outright lie, and it is the work of the devil himself, who doesn't want you to know about the reality of his existence. Satan is a spirit. So you're not going to see flesh and blood. You're going to see flesh and blood in your face, but Satan's spirit resides in this person that you're looking at, that you're speaking to. And I also want to let you know what's not discussed in the medical field, what's not diagnosed, what's not considered, is the fact that mental illness is largely attributed to the demonic. People that have spirits on them, and it has been referenced in the natural as some sort of mental illness, narcissism, to give one example. But I want to be clear, that is deceptive, because narcissism, again, when you're not aware of the totality And while I am inside of this hotel, and again, I'm laughing not because it's funny, I'm laughing because the entity is so foolish. And what am I actually referencing? The fact that Satan is nothing other than a roaring lion prowling about, seeking whom he may devour. Satan, yes, he is powerful. Clearly, you have a population of people who are fully under the control of Satan. This is demon possession. This is no small thing. However, in Christ, Satan is literally a clown. Okay, you're trampling all over the enemy. He looks like the buffoon that he is, the idiot stalking you under a fake sun, the demonic imitation of the natural environment on its face, obvious. No expert, no NASA employee can reconcile what they're telling us about the sun and then what I'm documenting on a day-to-day basis. The two do not jive. The two are impossible to coexist. The narrative that we've been told and the facts as you're looking at them, because I don't have anything now. I don't have to make up the fact that the government is stalking me in helicopters. I don't have to make up the fact that the entity is engaging in what is demonic methods of targeting someone because the entity sought to. And it's so unintelligent, so deranged that you will engage in what is clearly demonic, which is showing your true colors to the world, not criminally defaming me. That's the entity's pattern of conduct. So while you engage in amplified audible activity, the world is learning about how Satan operates amongst the demon possessed who are group stalking. As you engage in stalking and molesting and terrorizing with directed light, the world is thereby learning about the ways in which the demon possessed, this is Satan, this is how the states engage in the elements of monitoring, engage in terrorism, that which is also intended, inherently designed to criminally defame one that's alleging it. It's not poorly reflecting on the targeted individual whatsoever. That's the mentally deranged idiot that's stalking under a fake sun that is not even aware of what it has been surrounded with, and that's the evidence of the P.O.C. Okay, that is literally a triumphant victory provided by the Lord Jesus Christ over Satan, your enemy and mine. But again, those who know Christ, there is nothing to fear. You are witnessing a testimony that only the Lord Jesus Christ can give, the true and living God, the only one that speaks this sort of truth, and so that it can be shared here on earth, okay? This is not coming under the name of any other false god, whether you're worshiping the fake sun, or whether you're caught referencing some false god under some other name. Someone, by the way, who was dead in a grave. Jesus is not dead. He is alive and well, okay, thriving on the throne, and he's coming back in judgment. He's coming back. He is coming back in judgment. And I also want to speak to the prosecution of the state of California is nothing other than a sample. As I've said it before, this is just a snippet. Okay, because the Lord God he's an almighty God, all powerful God, omniscient, omnipotent God. The prosecution of the state of California is nothing. It's a flip on the radar to him with regard to his power, with regard to the grand judgment that this world is going to face upon his return. But it is, nonetheless, a great working of his power, a great show of his power, because the government sought to sacrifice me, and the government is hiding amongst a population, and you are showing and recognizing the fact that it is indeed the government that is hiding amongst those whose name you know and you don't know, who have the same exact identical condition of those who are stalking in helicopters, stalking in fire trucks, such as Daniel R. Muncie's San Bernardino County Fire Department are engaging in, while the entity repeatedly sounds sirens. The more that I document, the more that, just like the demon possessed do, they're stalking me. They also follow with what it is that I'm exposing about them. So as I speak to the fact they engage in criminal summoning, 2 minutes later they engage in criminal summoning again. 2 minutes later they engage in criminal summoning again. 2 minutes later they engage in criminal summoning again. As I continuously capture images of the fake sun where they're sounding sirens, idiots stalking under a fake sun, which is pointing directly to them. Okay, the entity repeats the pattern of conduct, which again, how is that also hurting themselves? Because the people of the state are going to federal prison, period. This demon that's group stalking in room 306, criminal summoning is an independent basis for federal prison. You're going to federal prison. You're going to federal prison for systematic facilitation. You're going to federal prison for engaging in federal stalking. And under Title 18, Section 22618, subsections 1 and 2, you're going to federal prison for acting with impunity and malice. In other words, with an outright disregard for the constitutional rights, the life, well-being, and liberty rights of another American citizen, whom you have no right to engage in that. That is, in the shoes of the government, conducting yourself and engaging in criminal conduct with impunity, as though you can state to any federal court that, like you would, I don't care what the law says, I'm going to continue to do this. No one with a straight face would do that. Not even the mentally ill demon possessed are going to do that in federal court. But that's what they're doing while they're continuously group stalking. And you're going to federal prison for that. It's called the impermissible threat. So while the entity repeatedly sounds sirens, this is what I'm documenting. At 11:07, the entity sounds sirens. You will see at 11:07 a.m. I am capturing images of the fake sun. 11:07 a.m. Again, not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it's so foolish. All right. And again, I'm not going to. I have the joy of the Lord. The joy of the Lord is my strength. So I have joy in the midst of trials and tribulation, but it is not overwhelming me whatsoever. I have the victory. This case is already done. It's already done. You're witnessing in the natural, the formality. God is outside of time. He has already decreed a long time ago that this was going to be the result for what Satan sought to do against me. And it just so happens to be relevant added context that the state of California, serving Satan, tried to sacrifice me, and I'm prosecuting it. That's a miraculous work. That is only the type of victory that the Lord God can provide. Okay, it's just added context because it's nothing gigantic to the Lord God Almighty, the creator of all of the universe. State of California is a blip on the radar. It's not the center of the universe. And they're not the only entity that's going to suffer for what it's been engaging in, which is, again, just judgment coming down here on earth into the 3D, if you will, based on what Satan has been doing for a prolonged period of time. God is not pleased with it. So the entity is engaging in this conduct and is repeatedly sounding sirens. 11:07, and again 11:07. You look at the video. The link to today's documentation is provided in the description for this podcast, so that you can witness the exposure of the demonic, and also the exposure of the state of California. The state of California, you can fill in whatever state that you're in because the states are monitoring. The states are monitoring. That's why you have a fake sun over you in whatever state that you're in. All right. So the entity is engaging in conduct and is doing so while it is engaged in federal stalking. This is the entity that knows that it's being documented, and only the delusional psychopaths engage in more criminal conduct to their own demise, while simultaneously admitting to the fact that they're engaging in additional criminal activity, which, again, all of the world is aware of that. You know all of that, which I just mentioned, because of the light source that's over me 6 hours after I captured the sunrise at the same address. The fake sun, the impossible light activity, the pattern of conduct, the evidence that's already sitting on the record. It's already there. Meaning the pattern of conduct continues. It's not going to be, oh, well, here on September 2nd today, all of a sudden, oh, the pattern of conduct, it's stopped now. That the entity just dropped it. They're not group stalking, and that's not the case. People that claim that they're been subject to group stalking and then all of a sudden the entity just stopped group stalking you. Yeah. I would surmise that is not a legitimate position regarding what is a satanic system, and what is not the position and the personality of Satan that is targeting, by the way, the Holy Spirit. All right. That work of persecution is not just going, oh, okay, we're done. And if it did, there's a reason for that. You're talking about what's spiritual at its core. This is spiritual warfare. So this criminal system doesn't just all of a sudden just stop. All of a sudden they just stopped group stalking you. It's a question whether they were ever actually group stalking you, which again, like I said, I'm not getting into that because this is criminal activity that could be prosecuted with evidence that is, again, unilaterally establishing a pattern of conduct by a government that's engaging in criminal surveillance that is group stalking you. It can be established through evidence. But as an aside, spiritually speaking, this is a work of Satan, and this is, in other words, persecution. And Satan is not going to just stop all of a sudden targeting the Holy Spirit just overnight. Oh, we're just gonna stop. And you've seen that because I'm documenting it. They're witnessing their own exposure and prosecution and the mentally ill, which is relevant. Another reason why. There's all the benefits of knowing Christ and accepting the free gift of salvation that is only in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. But I want to be clear. You are literally mentally ill when you are transgressing against the Lord, when you are in sin, when you are, in other words, walking in alignment with Satan. You are not in your right mind. You have spirits over you that you're not even aware of, that you're serving. And this is a reality that is not addressed because we don't talk about those things. We're talking about what we're wearing, where we're going, how much money we're spending, how much money we're making, focused on the carnal, on the fleshly, which is, again, a part of this agenda to keep you asleep, to keep you distracted. so that you do not become conscious of what's actually going on in your life. Who is it that you serve? Because you serve someone. And there's only one true and living God. And it doesn't matter if you want to call Satan God, it does not make it God. There is an objective truth regarding the Holy Spirit, and objective truth regarding the true and living God. And his name is the Lord Jesus Christ. There's only one. I've seen it all over the place, all over the internet. People calling demonic spirits the Holy Spirit. Do not be deceived. So like I said, I just want to go over that. This is context regarding, I did go a little bit. I don't mean to preach, but I'm not going to, I would be remiss, in other words, if I did not address some spiritual truths regarding a criminal prosecution of a government that's engaging in satanic behavior and the malice with which it engages in that. And then the foolishness when you're caught up in this evidence against you. And then this is speaking to how you need Jesus, because you're not even in your right mind when you serve Satan. You're not even in your right mind. All right. And as I continuously document, demons are monitoring. I'm speaking, as you can see in my videos, I use my hands a lot, and that's because it's not about me. I'm pointing here, I'm pointing out that, I'm pointing out things to you for you to notice. And as I'm moving around and using my hands, even on my podcast, demons are monitoring. The floor is vibrating. This is demonic. Again, Holiday Inn is a third-party facilitating venue. The people of the state that are in this country engaging in what is making money while this system of surveillance is underway, and that's what you're doing. The High Desert Gateway, that's massive surveillance while they're making millions of dollars, and I'm going to drain the pockets. That's criminal surveillance they're engaging in. And how do you recognize that? Because a fake sun is remaining over me while they're across the street, engaged in relevant positioning, light activity, audible activity. While the entity is sounding sirens, you know who's engaged in criminal summoning? The High Desert Gateway Shopping Center. And you also know that because I literally went to the shopping center and the fake sun is over me while I travel across the street. And you see the population, a bunch of demons whose names you don't need to know in order to keep you under surveillance on behalf of the state. And engineered light is moving into the depths of the target readily affiliating themselves with Satan, the work of Satan, the criminal conduct of Satan, while they have the audacity to be making $1 conspiring to murder and kidnap me. Because that's what you're doing when you're group stalking me. There's no legitimate purpose for the government to engage in group stalking an American citizen. Satan intends to silence you. Satan intends to stunt your progress, your growth. All right. Satan intends to defame you, to make you appear as though that which you're not, especially if you're in a position to speak on behalf of the Lord. It's part of the agenda to silence you and to defame you, to warp your image, all right, which is all a lie. And the Lord is the one that's going, Jesus is my defense. You don't have to defend. You don't have to do any of that. But that's the work of Satan, though. That's why you engage in group stalking. Do you understand how you can have this is also what you can deduce. You can think about it yourself. I'm just going to put this out before you. The other evidence so that you know that this is demonic, that these are demons, this is rooted in that which is satanic, because you have strangers. You could take away the fact that the entity is group stalking you through those whom you know, all right, those who you're familiar with, and those who you don't know, including the government. You don't have a criminal record, but police departments are group stalking you. There's no fire at my house ever, but the fire departments are group stalking you. This is how you know that it's demonic as well. That when I'm referencing the demonic, you're referencing that which is inherently spiritual. In the spirit, demons know who you are. This is a spiritual issue. This is spiritual warfare. This is targeting those that are of the other, okay? Those that are not a part of Satan's camp are being targeted. That's also the evidence of that which is at its core demonic, because the demons are recognizing you. That's how you know that they know. That's how you know that this is satanic at its core, because of the demonic behaviors that are occurring. You're seeing the engineer light while the demons are driving by me at Target, and engineer light's moving all across the buildings. Sunlight is never ricocheting off of the side of your car when you're driving underneath the sun, which you know it's not the sun. It's a light source that's hovering hunkered down above Target that is not being set on fire. And then you have like an arcade engineer light that's ricocheting while they're driving by me at that Target in Hesperia. And I'm not at Las Vegas. I'm not in, Las Vegas, but I'm not in Los Angeles at Alvarado Gardens. It's impossible that would be the sun, that could be the sun at that time of day in that position at all, ever. And it's also impossible that light is just manifesting out of nowhere when you're just driving your car by. That's demonic. And how is it that they're engaging in what is targeting with that light activity, and I don't know them? This is how you're also aware of the evidence of the demons who are targeting. And this is the evidence of what is Satan using people to engage in targeting. People that make up police departments, people that make up the fire departments, who are targeting you while they are in service in a position where Satan can use them to target another. Now, the entity is engaging in what is demonic, and the entity is going to be prosecuted for what is terrorism in the U.S. Domestic terrorism includes highly malicious and criminal conduct, but that is designed to keep an American citizen under surveillance and psychologically torment and torture them. That's a civil and criminal prosecution, to put it in very simplified terms. So the entity is doing so, and this is the evidence that you have regarding the demonic, and I'm just putting that before your face. I'm going to step away from that because you can analyze that yourself. How is it that absolute strangers coming from all walks of life, I'm in Hesperia that I haven't been in, but you're looking at that pattern? The engineer light, that's demonic. The fake sun, that's demonic over my head. This is identifying what is a population of demons who know exactly who I am. They know exactly where I'm at. That's how you know it's demonic as well. All right. This is how you know that at its root, this is satanic. Now that's for the world to learn from. The world is going to witness the prosecution of a satanic surveillance system that the state of California has no constitutional bases to engage in. The people of the state of California have no constitutional protections to shelter them from that prosecution. They're in the shoes of the state. They are the state. This is what the government is doing maliciously. So I just want to point that out. You will see the screenshots of this is a demon group stalking, a loud housekeeper, in other words. These are revealing the mentally ill, the using of slamming doors, loud housekeeping, beating on the walls like any other deranged psychopath who was group stalking under the fake sun amongst engineer light. And it's going to translate into money. You are draining the pockets, making millions and millions of dollars off of group stalking American citizens. You're going to drain all of those pockets. In addition to that, you're going to federal prison. You're going to federal prison for it. So the entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct and doing so with real-time knowledge. And why am I referencing Muncie? I'm referencing Daniel R. Muncie. The entity is sounding, sirens are sounding fire trucks while the fake sun is over me in Hesperia. That's directly pointing to the condition and the criminal activity by one who's engaged in federal stalking. There's no coincidences with regard to what I'm documenting on a phone, a cell phone, on the internet. And remember the evidence that the LAPD has provided. If you didn't get it from what the Ontario Police Department, the Fontana Police Department, the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department, the Montclair Police Department, the Chino Police Department, the Rialto Police Department, if you didn't get it from the Pomona Police Department, if you did not get it from the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, even before I relocated to LA, then the LAPD, the Los Angeles Police Department, a demon-infected terrorist organization that wants to be affirmed as, that wants to be recognized, that is masquerading, in other words, as a law enforcement agency. They are fully engaged in Satan's system of surveillance in LA County. They provided unmistakable direct evidence regarding how Satan is using the government to engage in his system of surveillance in 2024. And it directly corroborates that which is already sitting on the record. And that's what I pointed out in much of my evidence. Thousands of videos published on YouTube right now, and they will continuously be published. And the entity that's group stalking here in Hesperia and every other place, but right now I'm in Hesperia, and they're engaging in ongoing criminal acts of obstruction of justice because it's evidence against them. It's the same Satan that's using the population that surrounds me. Satan is engaging in what is criminal. Satan sought to engage in this conduct, and it's supposed to result in that target individual's life being snuffed out. You'll never learn about the fact that they were targeted. You are told that despite how accomplished that they might be, despite no matter how much of a good-hearted person that they were, at their demise, they're made into some sort of monster. And no one is questioning that because the people of the state who are controlling the narrative, who are you when you're just looking at the news to speak something opposite to what their mother is saying about them? Based on the position that they have toward the target individual, they are assuming ownership of the reputation of the target individual, in the same way that the government is assuming ownership regarding controlling the narrative about whether the target individual was a criminal, whether the target individual was mentally disturbed in some way. And this is why they engaged in this conduct. This is the ultimate gaslighting by the state that's engaged in this satanic system. All right. So, and that also is the work of Satan. The Los Angeles Police Department engaged in what is, nonetheless, I just want to go back. That's the big picture. The entity is engaged. It's currently, by the way, 12:34 p.m. and the entity will see the surveillance cameras. You will the use of the key cards, walking on the surveillance cameras throughout the facility here, because this is nothing but an ongoing facility of demons who are pacing all around and slamming doors and walking in and out while they're monitoring. This is the mentally ill population. So if you've ever seen, for example, I Am Legend, there are a bunch of dead mummies, essentially. That's what the people of the state are. That's what the demon possessed are. But you're looking at them smiling and talking. They're actually dead. These are living dead people, and they're engaging in demonic pacing, and they are doing so while they're monitoring me inside of my hotel room as I'm moving around, and they're aware of that. These are demons that are engaging in the monitoring behavioral pattern. They are also doing that while they're listening. These demons are also hostile because they're listening to the truth as I'm speaking it about them. And if you weren't engaged in state surveillance, if you weren't engaged in federal stalking, then you wouldn't be so mad. But you're dealing with the enemy, that is Satan. Satan is using people. You're going to prosecute those people for conduct that is criminal, and they are doing it of their own volition. No one's going to be able to say, and nor is it the case that you can, before God, claim that Satan made you do it. So anyway, the entity is engaged in this conduct with the ongoing purpose of, excuse me? I'm sorry? I need what? Oh, no, thank you. That's audible activity. The entity is engaged in the pattern of conduct with regard to the ongoing knowledge of everything that's being documented. So this is why I'm referencing demons such as, and this is, again, the pattern of conduct that's underway. Every mayor, every fire chief, every police chief, every county sheriff. These are demons who are sitting at the heads of these corrupt departments who are fully engaged in the pattern of conduct. And so this is why I'm referencing, and you'll see it, Daniel R. Muncie, Buddy Parat. And now I'm in Hesperia. This demon, Buddy Parat, a corrupt and dangerous government actor who's engaged in this criminal system, who is not limited to engaging in group stalking, using their fire trucks, engaging in sirens while they're just traveling through the city to engage in the elements of monitoring. The entity is doing this on an ongoing basis. Again, reference the evidence when I'm in Monrovia, California. The demons of the Arcadia Fire Department are the ones crossing path in Monrovia under the fake sun that's over me at Huntington and Myrtle, which is never over anywhere in Hesperia, over the hotel room, over my window in the bedroom, through the entrance doors of the hotel, through the ricocheting off of the Motel 6 window, such that it's also shooting into the first floor level onto the hotel wall, engineer light I'm referencing, and that it's beside me when it's so low, it's hovering beside, right in front of me when I'm standing beside this Holiday Inn during the 6 a.m. hour, and somehow it's also going to appear in Monrovia over the Town Place Suites by Marriott Hotel in Monrovia, California, where the Arcadia Police Department engaged in crossing path light activity and amplified audible activity, demonstrating demon possession, driving in engineer light, creating light activity, driving under the fake sun, sounding sirens, exhibiting demon possession. While you create audible activity in the engineered environment, that's a demon. When you engage in light activity creation in the engineered environment, that's a demon. When you engage in relevant positioning in the engineered environment, that is a demon. They're monitoring someone else. They're monitoring together. And you are recognizing the targeting by the demons based on what I do as I do it. So while I'm on a cell phone, demons know also while they're engaged in surveillance. This is the prosecution for what is demonic behaviors, and you're going to criminalize their natural behavior in violation of existing laws. Federal stalking is what demons are violating while they know what you're doing on a cell phone, on the internet. And while they engage in that demonic behavioral pattern, repeatedly sounding sirens. And while fire departments do that, it's not stopping demons such as, I believe it's Apple Valley with regard to Buddy Parat over the Apple Valley Fire Department, and Bobby Clemmer. These are dangerous and corrupt leaders who are over these corrupt fire departments. These are demons, okay? And this is also exposing while the entity engages in criminal conduct. Let me remind you about the names of the demons who are over these departments in Hesperia, in San Bernardino County. That's all that they're doing. When you have a population of strangers engage in the phenomenon at the nearby target where the sun is rising and setting over me, that is speaking to the entire population, a system, including as I drive outside of the state to the nearby adjacent state, Nevada. How was there a sun over the Courtyard by Marriott at 7:49 in the morning? Like I documented, the pattern of being in alignment to my person outside of any conformity to the natural environment. If that's the sun rising over the hillside and out at Alvarado Gardens, says that I could see through my living room window, there is no sunrise anywhere near Nevada at the same time at any time, based on how the natural environment works. The sun is not some ubiquitous presence does not maintain ubiquitous presence like the sky does. The sky is everywhere over all of us, everywhere that you're going. The sky is perpetually present, okay, day and night. The sun is not. The sun is an object that's engaged in constant movement, and it is not over everyone's head everywhere all day, rising and setting at the same location. If you just sit around and pay attention, stay at home all day, and look at the fake sun remain over you all day long. That's not the sun. Okay, this is evidence again that everyone, all of us, we can all look at this and reason together. I'm letting you know that this is demonic. I'm letting you know it's pointing the fingers at the demons who are to be plucked out of the positions that they hold. And demons who are fully exposed, such as Dominic Choi, threatening my life on an ongoing basis, conspiring to murder and kidnap me, while a department engaged in terrorism and psychological torture using helicopters. The most inhumane and vicious conduct that you can engage against another human being. Those are demons that fill the entire police department. And the Los Angeles Police Department has provided evidence against the entire state of California. So like I said, San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department has already been engaged in multiple acts of kidnapping and upon federal group stalking and monitoring. It would be very foolish, just like the LAP, very foolish conduct that's published on the internet for the world to witness. It would be very foolish for them to engage in what is readily identified as stalking. Under the fake sun, all that's happening is stalking. Group stalking. Nonetheless, it would be very foolish to arrive anywhere for me to capture, for me to directly contend, because I don't have to lie. The entity is stalking in helicopters. I don't have to make up one instance of stalking in a helicopter. And for what? Thousands of incidents of stalking in helicopter. The entire state's going to be prosecuted for terrorism. I don't have to make it up. Oh, they're stalking by a helicopter. They're flying over my hotel room. That's not going to make what is already a completed prosecution. The entity, and I will state, the entity has not engaged in group stalking in a manner perceptible. Remember, the entity is always engaged in group stalking. Yes, they are stalking a helicopter. The entity goes out of its way to make it known to the target individual, to psychologically torture you, to threaten you, threaten your life, okay, to retaliate because you're documenting it, because you're exposing it. That's why the entity engages in stalking you in helicopters in a manner that you can perceive. Because the entity is always engaged in that pattern of conduct. But the entity is engaged, and remember, that's the point of group stalking. But that doesn't work against one who's prosecuting you. It's the most foolish thing that the world will witness. To who told you that it's a good idea to threaten the federal prosecutor? Who told you that it's a good idea to provide movies for the federal judge to look at you threatening the court, the federal court? Because that's what you're doing. It's the most foolish thing, and I captured it on video for the world to witness, because that's what the government engaged in. Group stalking the one who was prosecuting them, stalking repeatedly in helicopters. That is literally the hallmark of federal group stalking and monitoring. Under the fake sun, and amongst the engineer light, amongst a population exhibiting demon possession. You have a population exhibiting demon possession when people that I don't even know, I don't know these people. I've never been here, but you've got the identification of the P.O.C. Fake sun, engineer light, also including inside of the target. Target's going to be prosecuted for threatening my life, for being a terrorist, for terrorizing me, threatening my safety by virtue of that specific environment. Yes, because that's how the entity is keeping you under surveillance on behalf of the government. It is not unreasonable under any circumstances that the ordinary target individual is walking around fearing for their life, fearing that the state's just going to run into target and hem them up, arrest them, make up information about why they're arresting you, because this is what the entity does when you're living in a bubble where there's no documentation, where there's no P.O.C, where the people of the state make up the information, substantiating what you'll see on the surveillance cameras, which they'll use in their corrupt courts to create a criminal record or to create some sort of paperwork, manufacturing a mental, whatever it is that the entity does. This is what the government is doing. And because of that, this is what I'm stating. That's the prosecution of the entire state. That's the evidence of a population engaging in group stalking. You can't even go to a drive-through without the entity stalking a helicopter. You can't go to the nearby target without being accosted, molested, and terrorized with impossible light activity. What is this? How is this even happening? While the light source, an ongoing communication of a threat by the entity while it remains over your head all day long. You're not free to engage in housekeeping. You're not free to walk in the parking lot. You're not free to check in and out of the hotel room. You're not free to drive down the street. You're not free to go to work at Target. This is how the entity is literally abusing the constitutional protections. None of it is private activity. None of it is protected under the Constitution. And while the entity does so, Daniel R. Muncie, Buddy Parati, who are not providing any distraction from that demon whose face you will see, a group stalking room 306. The entity, she is threatening me, and she represents the entity. The entity is threatening my life while the state engages in the elements of monitoring, group stalking together, a bunch of psychopaths, demons who are hostile, okay, like demons foaming at the mouth, like dogs foaming at the mouth, barking like they're about to bite you, like they're about to attack. That's what demons are doing while they engage in more of the elements of monitoring. And it's the most foolish thing that you can see when you're recognizing what the pattern of conduct is, and then the mind state that they have when they're engaging in more. Who are you hurting at this point? I'm making an example out of you. You're literally being embarrassed because you're supposed to be the big bad government that's going around kidnapping people and then making those people look like they're the paranoid schizophrenic, they're the criminals, they're the depressed bipolar ones who took their own life. You're supposed to be that big bad, and you're looking like a bunch of mentally deranged and unstable stalkers, obsessed stalkers who are demon possessed, which becomes legally relevant. You're very highly unstable. You're going to be treated like that because that's the truth. When you want to, which is what Satan does. Satan wants to flip the narrative. Satan will call you a sex offender when Satan is in fact the sex offender. Satan will, in other words, call you the mentally ill one when Satan is the one that is very mentally ill. Doesn't want you to know about how mentally deranged they are. It's a whole population of them. Okay, so, and that public safety concern is literally embodied in the entity's pattern of conduct. So I'm going to digress here. It's 12:46 p.m. What the entity engaged in is knocking on my door, requesting housekeeping. That's audible activity, light activity, and doing so with impunity. And this is, again, the malice of the entity's pattern of conduct is being flipped on its head. Because an entity, well, I can even entertain a demon. Well, I mean, I have to go to work because I have to pay my rent on the 1st. I mean, like the demons at Alvarado Gardens, I only have to pay $308 for rent every month, but I have to pay, so I have to go to work and I have to walk outside of my apartment and get to my car to drive out, and then I have to come back home because I have to be at my apartment where my kids are, and so I have to drive onto the grounds of the apartment complex while they are engaging in a malicious system that coexists with what's supposed to appear in the natural as just life, everyday life. They're simultaneously engaging in the demonic elements of monitoring. They're monitoring you. They do so arriving and leaving, for example, with what they would say, this is an obligation, I have to go to work. They engage in leaving for work with regard to what it is that you do as you do it, within sync and in concert with the state that engages in stalking via the use of criminal summoning, stalking via the use of helicopters, stalking while the people of the state are terrorizing, and engineered light is inside of your apartment on your ceiling while they're just driving to work, driving back onto the property. They're accomplishing the elements of monitoring. The malice of that system is going to be used against that entity. And by the way, the goal, the resolution, the lesson that you need to learn is that you are never to engage in this in the first place. Never. Okay, but I want to be clear, the entity is not in any way accepted or excused from the criminal system. And so what will never be the case is that what some targeted individual whose life is literally remaining in jeopardy while this entity engages in this criminal system, nothing about what the entity claims is an obligation. Oh, I have to go to work. Oh, I have to do this. I have to go there. I had to do that. I don't know nothing about nothing that the entity is ever contending supersedes the threat to the life of the target individual. Ever. Nothing. Absolutely nothing at all. The entity, the state does it itself. Oh, well, we had sirens run because we really had an emergency call. There was really a fire down the street. And so we really did have to drive down Alvarado Street, or we really did have to drive down Main Street to get to the opposite end near the nearest the Interstate 15 because there was literally a fire underway. None of that is superseding the elements of monitoring. And what is that? That's a prosecution for the malice that these demons sought to employ while they were keeping an American citizen secretly under surveillance through demonic means. And so, like I said, you can have a car crash where the entity is literally sustained injuries and they literally crashed up their cars. Perhaps the demons were group stalking so hard they were looking in the opposite direction and they hit each other. But you're talking about demons who know that when I put my hand in my pocket and I move my middle finger around, and you can't see that, but demons know it, and they're stalking with audible activity and stalking with light activity as you do that. So these are the demons that are getting in car accidents. These are the demons that are under a fake sun, which is entirely deliberate regarding all of the environment. These are the demons that are getting in car accidents, which requires what? The summoning of the demons who are group stalking and part of the fire departments, a part of the ambulances. Falk Ambulance, AMR, have ruined it forever regarding any legitimate claim regarding anything that will ever contend with or supersede the life and safety of the target individual. You can be being picked up in a body bag. Well, not a body bag, because you'd be dead. But someone could be being picked up in a body bag, for example. We'll use that. The target individual is subject to the elements of monitoring. You're going to be prosecuted, because that's the malice of the system. And the entity is always engaging in something as though it's designed such that no one's ever going to listen to the target individual, the little guy, okay? As opposed to the almighty government, the state, that says, well, it's X, Y, and Z, and it's X, Y, and Z because the state said it's X, Y, and Z. That's literally a lie out of hell. It's literally the position of Satan. These demons are lying. All right. And so the specific environment is what controls the evidence that the target individual can present with regard to the malice, the simultaneous criminal engagement in the elements of monitoring. That's what's going to control, not the narrative that the state would present. And so while you provide evidence, well, we were reporting to the scene because we got an emergency call about a fire. Guess what that is? It's evidence of presence. It's going to be used against you because the entity is engaged in the pattern of conduct, period. And that's just flipping the malice of that system on its head. And the entity presupposes that your necessity, your obligations, your responsibilities, while it's coexisting with this malicious system, is going to somehow supersede the threat to the life of the target individual who's subject to that system. And it's not. You're delusional in thinking that that's going to be the case. It's not. And the federal government is not missing that. Okay. And no competent analysis is going to disregard that. So anyway, it's currently 12:51 p.m. And so I wanted to give this discussion because this is what happened. I'm in the hotel room and it's directly relevant to state actors. And so you're not going to forget about demons such as Daniel R. Muncie when I'm inside of my hotel room and the entity begins sounding sirens because a demon that's hostile, that she's being documented, is so incapable of controlling themselves. So you're hitting my door. So even if let me be clear, remember, this is the demonic. So the target individual is not hallucinating or imagining anything. The loud sound of hitting my door, because that's exactly audible activity, is what's occurring. And then the entity engages in the demonic. So even when there's nobody above me, I'm on the 3rd floor, but yet the audible activity is though someone is walking on the ceiling, or that would be the roof. All right. I'm hearing noises as though someone is walking above me. I'm on the 3rd floor. That's impossible. This is understanding how the entity employs the demonic and that which is supposed to be inexplicable immediately to write off the targeted individual alleging such things as them being the ones suffering from some sort of mental illness. That's called malice. And you are reconciling what the entity is engaging, which is demonic. This is referencing malice. When you are in the specific environment, the fake sun remains over that hotel room, over me at this venue. And this is how you're getting to, a bunch of psychopaths that think that they can psychologically torture and terrorize you. There's a paycheck for that. You're going to pay. You're going to compensate for the harms that you're inflicting while you're engaging in criminal surveillance, which is beyond a reasonable doubt. That's why the specific environment is there. And you're doing it, by the way, after an entire body of evidence is already laid out before you foolishly engaged in the same thing that demons before you fell prey to. And that is coming for me. All right. So the entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct, employing the demonic. But like I stated in the video, that's what I'm referencing right now. The audible activity of what is loud knocking on my door. And then just being present. Oh, I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea what you're talking about. Okay. You don't have to worry about trying to get some demon, literally the enemy itself, who is the father of lies, using people. These are the demon possessed. You will not get the truth out of them. And you don't have to rely on it either. The entity, it's audible activity. You're monitoring, even if she was not engaging in the foolish conduct of knocking on my door so that I get your mug on the internet. This is a fool. Okay. But nonetheless, even if she didn't, she's group stalking. Period. You're group stalking, you're going to federal prison. You don't have to rely on the entity. There's no legal argument that any of them maintain in the specific environment group stalking on behalf of the state. You don't have a constitutional protection. There is no attorney that will offer any legally relevant argument with regard to what it is your constitutional rights or what's normal conduct. No, there's a greater context here. This is highly malicious and it's satanic. And the fact that it's satanic is legally relevant because the government's engaging in what is a satanic surveillance system. All right. So even if there was not this audible activity, So again, going with I will concede the entity wants to say, oh, the target individual is a paranoid schizophrenic. You're still going to be prosecuted. They're not, but they're still going to be prosecuted for engaging in relevant positioning, audible activity creation. The entity is maintaining audible activity while I watch my television. Okay. The elements of monitoring remain present and the light source and engineer light is present. You're group stalking, period. But I want to be clear. You're dealing with malice. You're dealing with a bunch of demons who are group stalking you, engaging in that sort of harassment and terrorism. And you're always, oh no, I have no idea. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I really don't know, Becky Sue. I don't know what to say. They are always maintaining this look of being perplexed. You're dealing with psychopaths. And that's the mental illness of those. And so you're going to reconcile, look at the light source that's present for 12 hours, and then go back and listen to what that demon-possessed person is saying and how they're conducting themselves, their behavior, their body language. You're looking at mental illness. All right. You're going to reconcile the light activity, the impossible light activity that's literally inside of this hotel, the flashing of light that's occurring inside of this hotel. You've seen it on video, the placement of this engineer light, and then you're going to go back and revisit what this demon possessed person is stating with regard to their being perplexed or their, I have no idea regarding what's going on. They don't need to claim ownership for it. And you also don't need to rely on it. That's not how you're prosecuting federal group stalking and monitoring anyway. That's not how you're prosecuting it. And no demon, by the way, is going to admit the truth. You're not going to get that. You're dealing with wicked. You're dealing with Satan itself, the demon possessed. I do this so that you are informing yourself. You are learning about the wiles of the devil and the things that you've been conditioned. You have been trained to think mental illness looks like this. Okay. Demon possession looks like this. Okay. The work of Satan, the demonic, it looks like this. Let me be clear. The demonic is very much a beautiful, gorgeous, quote unquote, sunset over the beach where you are in at Virginia Beach. That's nowhere near Venice Beach in LA. That's the work of Satan. That's not the sun. That's not a sunset. And it's very gorgeous, very beautiful. You can take pictures of it. Get married underneath it. It's the work of Satan. You've been trained to recognize Satan and demon possession and these spooky things in a particular light. And that is also deliberate. Satan does not want you to be aware of his reality and his wiles, his high level deception that, again, as we're continuing progressing in history and getting closer to the return of the Lord Jesus Christ, more and more deception is underway. So you are not to be deterred or fearful or deceived by the wiles of the enemy. You're not ignorant about the enemy's devices. And you are certainly not seduced or tricked by the appearance of the thing. You're not going to be deceived by that. So you should be walking with the informed mind about what Scripture says, and not just knowing Scripture, but walking in obedience to it. That's crucial. By the way, that's the distinction between those who are children who love the Lord, who know him personally as the Lord Jesus Christ. You're walking in obedience to his word. Okay. And also you are believing him. He's coming back. He's coming back. And this, the exposure of this system, the prosecution of the state of California, the demonic nature of this criminal activity is the ongoing testimony regarding that truth. All right. So this is what I wanted to speak to regarding the ongoing terrorism that I'm subject to inside of the private space. Demons who are hostile, just regarding my existence and regarding the fact that I am exposing them and I'm prosecuting them in ways that the enemy did not anticipate. But was very fearful of, wary of it. This is why I was subject to group stalking long before I knew I was subject to group stalking. All right. But the enemy has known the demons. Well, again, a population of people I don't know, but they're engaging in what is identification of knowledge. You know who I am. That's why you're engaging in that demonic behavioral pattern. These demons know exactly who I am. You're dealing with something that is rooted in the spirit first. And you're seeing manifesting. And I'm prosecuting based on what we can all see and agree together with regard to how it is demonic, but it's serving for what is criminal conduct. The government is stalking. The government does not have any constitutional protections or authority bases, grounds to engage in stalking. And that's what you're doing when you're following from place to place, which is identified through that specific environment and an ongoing pattern of what is kidnapping, harassment, and acts of terrorism by the state, and the state's doing it with the people. All right. So it is currently 12:59 p.m. Pay attention to the screenshots that I captured. And the entity repeatedly sounds sirens as it, and this is again, the very petty, juvenile, sophomoric, but that's not, like chitty, like, oh, like childish, like, oh, that's so cute. It's nothing. It's actually very serious. because these are people that make up a population. These are people that bear weapons, exercising fictitious authority under the law, that are engaging in what is very petty on the surface. So you're repeatedly sounding sirens, which is obviously the criminal conduct. While I documented you engage in it more, that sort of mindset is a threat to your life, first of all, because it's serving the elements of monitoring. It's communicating a threat, acting with impunity, very highly malicious, all right? And it's retaliatory and by the government, okay? But it's also speaking to what's a threat because of that sort of sophomoric response by demons who are monitoring you and keeping you under surveillance. The likes of that is what calls itself a police chief, is what calls itself a county sheriff, calls itself a surgeon general, calls itself, you fill in the blank, calls itself a mayor, calls itself a judge. All right. And I'm just referencing those that are in positions where the demons are to be removed because they pose a threat to the well-being of American citizens while they are holding. And I'm talking even to the demon possessed, the people of the state. OK, the government is holding hands, engaging in criminal activity with the population. That's very, very dangerous. That's very dangerous. All right. So anyway, I'm going to digress there. It's 1:01 p.m. The entity is engaging in the ongoing P.O.C. That was an act of hostility, which is a documented act threatening my life and my safety, which Holiday Inn, which represents the people of the state, where the sun is now rising and setting. All right. Which where you remain right now, are able to confirm the presence of the demonic because it's not the natural environment. What's over my hotel window is not over you at the top of your head out there in Louisiana. It's not the sun over you. There's only one sun also, all right, not 14. I'm going to continue to repeat that, make that a hashtag because that's a fact, all right? So the entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct and it's very obvious. So this is how you get to a lot of educated and uneducated idiots are group stalking under a fake sun. And that is the prosecution of the state of California. It's Monday, September 2nd, 2024. This is P.O.C.